This is episode 41 of This Makes Me Happy. We are planning a special New Year's episode. We would like to hear what resolutions will make you happy in 2017. So please send us a voice note to hello@thehappypodcast.com with your name, where you're from, and what will make you happy in 2017. Welcome to This Makes Me Happy, a podcast about people and what makes them happy. I am your host, Bernardo Margulis. I'm a designer, art director, and educator, and I'm the principal of This Makes Me Happy, a design studio where I help my clients with branding and visual communications. I'm very happy to present This Makes Me Happy, the podcast, where each week I chat with a different person about what makes them happy. My guests come from all walks of life, and each of them shares their own personal happy stories. Join us every week for a unique conversation. Hello, today I'm very happy to have Thomas Jockin with me. He's the organizer of Type Thursday. Hi Thomas, how are you doing?
Doing great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. And tell me, is there anything else you want the audience to know about you?
I'm a type designer and an amateur boxer.
Oh, I know about the type designer because we both went to Cooper Union, but tell me a little bit about the boxing.
Boxing. Well, so when I lived after type at Cooper in 2011, wow. Time me do not get along. When I moved to Portland, Oregon, after I graduated from type at Cooper in the first year, basically I was like 220 pounds on a 5'10" frame. Basically I was fat. And all my friends I made out in Portland were super fit. They were like slacklining, running, biking culture is like all super healthy, lovely people. And I was this fat ass, and just by kind of osmosis, I'm like, I should get fit somehow too. And all the other options did not entice me very much. But something I've always wanted to do when I was younger was learning how to box. I've always wanted to learn. I found a gym in Portland, Oregon, and next thing I know, I started going like once a week because I was too fat to be able to handle it. Anything more than that. And then worked my way up within a year or two, coming back to New York from Portland, to taking amateur fights. I've had 3 fights, won all 3, knocked out 2 of my guys. And it's crazy. It's kind of nuts to think of that process, but I absolutely love it. It's something I love to do and train. I still train to this day.
That's awesome. And I wish I knew this. Well, I don't think we were in New York at the same time for a long time. It would have been fun to just check it out. But let's go back. Let's go to the main topic of our conversation. What makes you happy? People. I mean, I think for me personally, what I love the most in life is interacting with people. People are these amazing black boxes that, unless you take the time to seek to understand where they're coming from, you'll be amazed what you get out of them, because there's so many times I've interacted with people in my life, both professionally and personally, that you go in there and when you interact with them, you think it's going to go down a certain route, and then they do something really surprising you never thought would be expected. And then you kind of take a moment to piece it together. Great things come out of it: collaborations, partnerships, relationships, insights, perspectives, maybe things you didn't see or understand, or what motivates them, what directed them to move forward in their lives. It's something only from learning their story and understanding where they're coming from that you can understand. Like, you learn something new about life, not yourself, by talking with them. That, it's funny because as a type designer, that's my trained practice as a type designer, and it's a very isolated field. You're making these letters, you're in a box, make your letters, and then you just make your stuff for your clients and your production work and whatnot. But then you associate with people and you talk to people. Again, you find out things happen in the exchange, both in just, I could say, micro levels of them people using type, how people review type and look at it, or like I even said, these larger conversations about working together in teams and developing projects together, or creating friendships with people. I think the greatest thing in my life is spending time with people. I love you use a metaphor, black boxes. Can you expand on that? Is that because things are hidden, or is that because the potential?
Yeah, I think it's both of those. It's literally it's this opaque black box that
because human beings, that's the thing. It's like, because I've been definitely guilty of in my own life. A lot of times when I was younger, you get self-absorbed. You have your own passions, your drives, you want to go do stuff. And you're so self-centered in your own, what you want to do, even if it's well-intentioned, it's still self-centered. But when you talk to, and you don't know what's going on, and that's the thing, you have your own story, your own things going on in your life, your own context, what made you animate you to move forward in life, what you get your meaning from those events in your life, and then what you focus on from that. That's just your own perspective. As opposed to talking to other people, yeah, because most of the time when you engage, most of the time, I know in the past when I talk to people, if I don't take the time to understand where they're coming from, they are black boxes. See, there's like this unknown thing that you just kind of like react to, and then you get thick stuff back at you, and you get really surprised about. But when you can uncover it and kind of open that up and kind of learn about people and learn where they're coming from, what their thought processes are, what matters to them, what's their priorities, what they value, it makes this thing that was so opaque seems to make a lot more sense all of a sudden. And that we're not really so different if you take the time to understand each other.
Have you always had this curiosity, or is that a newfound thing?
I think it was hardly earned. I can't say it. It was hard earned. Like it was a very difficult mindset and thought process that had to be gained over time. Because like I said, I was a very animated kid. I was always I knew what I wanted in life. Maybe not how to get it, but I just knew I wanted something in life. I was going to go get it. That makes you like, it's almost like just like this blast of like water, like a fire hose just blasting forward. It's great. You're doing stuff, but a lot of stuff's getting passed by along the way. And I think the critical moment, I think it was probably a couple years ago when, again, you're doing this great, you're doing all this stuff, but then it's almost like this deafening tone of like when it doesn't connect with other people. There would be these moments. It was sometimes very subtle in the past, and as I got more aware of it, I would notice it more and more. It's like you're trying to express what you're trying to do and like whatever, and the other party is just not engaged. They're just not connecting. And I always had this kind of tinge of sadness about it. It's like, wow, man, it's like I'm like doing my thing, and like I had this moment of self-reflection about it. I'd look at that and look at the moments when the opposite would happen, when I would connect with people, when I would relate to them, when I would when that connection would happen, and how much better my life. Those are the moments that actually mattered in my life. Those are the moments that actually were really significant to what made my life meaningful, what made me happy as a person. I thought that distinction, that kind of discernment was hard-earned skill. That cost me a lot.
So now that you're on the other side and you have the skill, how do you feel that's affected? I'm going to ask on two levels. How do you think that's affected you individually, and how do you think, or emotionally, and how do you think it's affected your life externally?
Well, I think personally for me, it's success. I mean, I think my personal career has improved immensely from that. My relationships with people have grown both in breadth and in depth, in the sense that I have way more friends and people that I can associate with in a very deep level than I did in the past. And my long-term relationships with my family, my childhood friends, my partners in the past, they're significantly better. They're just a much deeper relationship because of this kind of taking this time to understand people better. And then, so that was me personally. And then macro is just, so when you have a vision to go do something, you want to do something big. I just noticed when I tried to do big things, when I had this self-centered attitude, nothing got done. I would try all this effort, blast, try to make shit happen, and nothing would get done. Just by changing that frame mindset of how I approach things, we went from nothing happening to then crazy stuff happening. I say that because one of the things I organized is Type Thursday, this type credit group for people who want to learn by type design, learn about the process of type design. When I didn't have that mindset about how can this help other people, how can this benefit, how can we seek to understand other people's point of views and what their thought process were for making type and making development process for design, it would get 3 people to show up. And that's how it went for 2 years, 2 years of that process. I changed the mindset behind it, and then it just exploded, basically. I had like, all of a sudden, this thing I was doing by myself, people wanted to collaborate, people wanted to help me out with it. We're opening a chapter in San Francisco. We have a team over there. We have a dedicated team in New York that helps support me to make this happen. And that's the point. Like, they want to support it because it's much larger now than my own individual self-interest or like thought process about it. I mean, not to get corny or like kind of over dramatic with it, but this is how you start movements. This is how you kind of make change in the world. I get that crazy about it. And am I going to like be a Martin Luther King Jr.? No, that's ridiculous. Like, I'd be the first to say that. But
you will liberate type.
Yeah, I mean,
you will liberate type through your movement.
Yeah, evangelize that type. Love that type. Get people to love that, because that's another thing I love. I mean, of course, I love type. I think it's almost like a given. But spreading that message and like kind of reaffirming that this people care about this. That it's not just one person; it's a whole bunch of us. We do care about it, and that group of people is much bigger than I think people would assume. I think a lot of internal narrative in type design for a long time has been like, we're a small group. It's like whatever. We're still a very small niche group of people. But personally, for me, type is used by everybody. So by nature of that, there must be a certain sense of people who have an ability to appreciate the subtleties of life. Just as much as they can appreciate wine and fine food and things like that, they can appreciate great language and great type, the visualization of language, that is type, typography. And its other subfields of like calligraphy and lettering and stone carving and whatnot. I think that's the point. Like, that's again, like kind of a different, opening up to a larger conversation of understanding other people as opposed to your own self-interest. Like, your own, like, I care about this. What about things that other people can care about? It's much more powerful. I think that's how you make great things to happen in life.
People are not aware of our pre-conversation, but we were talking about how now Type Thursday exploded and how you have teams and how you have different chapters in San Francisco. And it sounds like this is a connecting thread that we didn't go through the pre-conversation, where people are helping you achieve that, and you're changing the attitude about people. So it's great to see how it's translating into your efforts. One thing you said earlier is that type design is very, I can't remember the word you said, but it's very individualistic. It's very, isolated, I think is what you said before.
Yes.
How does that affect, how does working in such an isolated field affect your relationship to people or your need for connecting with other people?
I think it's huge. And I'm glad you asked that question, because it's by that nature of being so isolating. It's very, especially with the meticulous nature of type and having to be so like intentionality in your design process, it can be very easy to get self-absorbed in that, like not being able to connect to other people, because it's inherently built into the system of like, you're isolated, working on the stuff for like months to years to get this as well as you possibly can. And then you just put it out in the world. There's like that gap, right, between your individual act of producing a tool, a gift really for other people to use, and then the people, designers using the type. So that's the thing. It's like, ironically, type design, while it's practice in making it, it's very isolating. In its inherent nature as a tool, it's interrelational. It requires people to use it. This capacity was always built into it. But I think when you're in the day-to-day trenches of making the work, it's something you can forget a lot very easily.
And you used to work for Darden Studio, Josh Darden Studio. Was that a team setting, or were you working on your own?
I was the first apprentice of Josh Darden.
Okay.
So he had just started the studio, and he was actually I'm really glad you brought that up, because honestly, I would never be a type designer without Josh. I didn't know what type was, didn't know it existed. When I was a sophomore at Parsons School of Design, Josh happened to be my type 1 teacher, and he completely blew my eyes open to what this was and what its possibilities were, that were completely outside what I thought and knew. And at the end of that first class, I basically at 19 was like, okay, whatever this thing called type is, I don't really know what it is, but I love the way this guy is thinking and talking. I want to be like that. I want it when I'm 10 years from now, I want to be like that. So I'm going to work for this guy. And I remember at the end of that first semester, I'd already talked to my chair in my department. I just rolled in to Josh and I was like, I'm working for you for free. I'll do it for credit. I already approved by the school. Here's the paperwork. You just got to sign.
Oh, wow.
I had chutzpah. I mean, it was just full chutzpah. Like it was, I swear, the one thing, that fire hose attitude of being younger, it had many downsides. But the one godsend of it was that raw commitment to just go, just to do it. And Josh was like, okay. And then that was the start of a 3-year apprenticeship to learn type design.
Oh, wow.
And to this day, it's honestly the greatest gift of my life. Really, it is. On a professional and personal level, Josh Darden is probably the most important person in my life because he completely opened up a whole new way of thinking, my livelihood as a practice, but also a whole new way of thinking, a methodology, and fundamentally about like for me, what draws me to type originally was the way Josh looked at it, which was, it was this incredible mix of extreme form of rationalism, right? Intentionality and rationalism with this intrinsic discernment ability of nuance and sensitivity and culture and form making that I couldn't find in any other discipline in design that I thought was beautiful, amazing, and was something I was willing to dedicate my whole life to, learning that craft and practice on. That only came from Josh, and I do consider him my master. It does seem very antiquated to use those kind of terminologies in the 21st century, but I really had that deep sense because also he made that full commitment to train me as much as he could, in both the technical ability to produce type and well as the discernment and the eye to think about type, both historically, form making wise, and technology wise.
So again, circling back to the idea of people, you uncover, or your connection to a person, Josh, you were able to uncover that, and through that you were able to discover your passion and now you're doing it. Now you're at it. I'm glad you went on that point because I wouldn't have been able to ask a question to get that eloquent answer. But where I was trying to get was before you were working with him, and then now you moved on to working on your own for a while. How has it changed your relationship to both the practice and people?
Going from an apprentice to being independent?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, here's a big issue. I mean, it has been. Okay. So when I got accepted and applied and accepted the inaugural class at Type at Cooper, the extended program.
Thank you for laying the foundation for the rest of us.
A pleasure. I mean, that was a really crazy class because that had like a lot of amazing designers in that group. Like that was insane.
You had Jess Hish and you had
Carlos Pagan. We had Nick Sherman. We had CJ. We had a lot of people that are.
You had Thomas Jockin. All big names. All big names.
Actually, no, you know what? Honestly, I actually had very low self-esteem in myself back then. And actually, that class was actually my commitment to call. I'm either going to be fully committed to being a type designer at that point, or I'm giving this up. Because I actually had a lot of self-doubt that I could actually produce my own work. Because when I left Josh's studio, I thought I was just a shadow of him. Like I thought it was just like this really shitty imitation of Josh Darden's thinking process. Because people would look at my work and would sense, oh, this is definitely a move Josh would do. Something like that. So I'm like, well, shit. Josh has just been implanted into me, and I'm just like a shittier version of Josh, basically. I'm not as a competent version of it. I had a lot of self-value issues. Like, could I actually make a typeface that's like my voice, basically? Like, do I have the right to produce something like that? So for a lot of years, I was like a typographic designer. You know, I would like use type and I would like do typographic projects, but the thought of like making a typeface and putting it in retail and working with clients in type was not, I had a lot of self-doubt about that. And Type at Cooper was this ultimatum to myself to say, I'm either going to commit and do it, or it's not going to happen. Like, I just can't. Apparently, I don't have the mental willpower to like work through this, to like be okay with moving forward with my own voice.
Have you published a typeface you did at Cooper?
Yeah, Gaston. Yeah, that was my first release. That came out like a year later after the program.
So you're like one of 5 people who have published your typefaces.
I'm multiple typefaces. I actually have. I'm actually doing it. Published typefaces out. No, it's a full career. It's published retail typefaces. Right now, I have the honor to be on a team working on improving the Google font collection right now with a great team with that. No, it's a full career, but that's a big, so much of it. That's the thing. Like, really in reflection, I had such unfair advantages. I had this incredible, like, anyone who learns type design, a multi-year apprenticeship is super, super rare. that was regardless of what era of type design you're training to learn. And I had this incredible advantage of being trained by this. And yet I still had this huge mental block to say, no, I'm not ready yet. I'm not good enough. I'm not ready yet. I can't do it. But yet I think reflecting, I had a lot of advantages. Say I should do it. And I don't know what it took was a shift in mindset to say, no, I'm going to commit and do it. And I took that program. And that's another thing. Listen, it wasn't for Jesse Reagan, my peers in Type of Cooper, and just that structure of that class to force me to produce that work. And by the way, the first semester I totally bombed it. I got annihilated in a final critique from Christian Schwartz, and
he's a tough reviewer.
He's good, but it's with love. He does it with love.
He's a tough love reviewer.
He is. I always appreciate what he's done and what he gave me. Going through the whole process again, it's the same thing. It's with people. It's that group of people really helped me, push me to prove that block in my life to push forward and do this thing that I said I was going to do, be a type designer, and push forward with it. Yeah.
You keep saying how you had an unfair advantage, but if we backtrack to the story of how you landed there, you created that situation. Did that ever come to mind? Did you realize, all right, you're saying, all right, it's fair advantage because I got the 3-year apprenticeship, but you made that happen. So why didn't you acknowledge the fact that it didn't land on your lap? You found it.
Well, one thing is, one part, again, this is kind of like the retrospective look. You can say that.
Yeah. Hindsight's 20/20.
Yes. So, but at the time, it was at the mindset. I felt like I had this very large gift given to me. I even knew that at the time, and I felt like that gift came with a certain obligation, right? I had to honor that gift in some way. So it's just I was like that. That was the internal narrative, the internal story I was telling myself while in the apprenticeship, and then when I left the apprenticeship. The kind of reflection on making it happen, reflecting on it, yes. I think that's kind of I can see looking back on it, that's a huge deal, and that's a big part of it. It's only an unfair advantage in the sense that there's a body of knowledge I gained, a certain gain of insight that I should have been able to say, with that I can move forward with. But these other limitations, I feeling I wasn't good enough, that's what kind of stopped me from seeing that perspective. But they think you broke through it. It took time, but you broke through it. And but again, it took that kind of structure. It took other people in my life to work with me and to push me to be the person I was meant to be the designer I could be. I think that's the biggest takeaway. And even if that in that context it was all self-imposed. But those are just as real. Those are just as real as any kind of real issue, any real kind of limitation in your life. A self-imposed one is just as bad.
So at what point did it click and your first semester you tanked, and then how did it go after? Was there a moment where you realized that you had the support system around you, or how did that happen?
Yes. Yeah, there's actually, I remember this moment. It's with the instructor, Jesse Reagan. I remember during one of the critiques. I think, so basically, Gausson, which came from Type of Cooper, was this interpretation of copperplate Gothic. So it's supposed to be, it's a grotesque sans serif with these goddamn weird spurs. That was the whole brief, basically. And I was for weeks struggling with these spurs. What kind of spurs should they be? How should they be placed? All this proportion, all this stuff. And I was struggling so hard with it. And then Jesse was giving me his critique. And at one point he looked at me and he saw my frustration over what was going on. And he looked at me in the eyes and said, I believe in you. You can do this. I know you can do it. I remember to this, it's been, what has it been? 5 years, 6 years since then? 5 years since the program. I still remember that. I remember that conversation to this day. As well as honestly one of my classmates in that group. It was Lila Simmons. Mm-hmm. She's one of my good friends even now to this day. And we would I remember we would call each other every week and just cheerlead each other as we go through all this sucks, we can't do it. This is horrible. I don't know what I'm doing. This is not working right. I can say very clearly those two things especially, but exactly that one conversation with Jesse, but also with Lila too. Just the weekly calls with her made a big difference.
Do you still need that human reassurance, or are you at a point where you can find it within?
What ends up happening? It's the answer to the question is, oh, you betcha. It's only human. and every human falters eventually. And it's going to be the people around you, the people you choose to have around you in your life that are going to make you rise to the occasion or fall from the occasion. I think I've definitely known that from all my life. And almost every time that moment's ever come, people have always come to my aid with the kind of like reassurance and support that was needed to push forward to make things happen. And that's the thing, is that's, like I said, people are amazing. People really are. I think the best you can do as an individual can only come from how you work with others, and how people who really appreciate who and what you are and what you're trying to do in your life, and see for what you're possible, for not only what you are, but what your possibilities are, and reaffirm you of that. That's the greatest gift you can give other people.
Are you thinking of anyone specifically, or people in general?
I mean, I guess there's a couple of them. Just Reagan, Josh Darden, Lila, even my team members the team members at Type Thursday. I'm really proud of them. I really am. Because you said before they're supporting me. I would challenge that. Only I would say is they're supporting Type Thursday, what Type Thursday represents, and what its mission is trying to do. I'm merely a steward of it. I'm merely the one who just kind of sets the context and was an initiator of it. Literally the organizer. I kind of like put all the pieces together. But the essence of what it is, it's not me. It's its own spirit and soul behind it. And these guys come, and these team members, my team, Ravi, Delv, Julie, Carolina, I can name so many of them that really on their own volition kind of stepped up, and like they didn't have to, and come help make this happen in various different ways. And as we kind of like push things up with new chapters, create things like field trips, we get like a party bus. We go out and like set an exhibition at a mansion on Long Island. It's just like lots of crazy stuff going on. I could never do it by myself. And it's not, they just buy into that. They agree with that vision of what we're trying to do and what the possibilities are. And just their affirmation, that them joining me in that process is an affirmation of what's possible. I think it's an important gift.
Do you think as other people, as you said, rise to occasion, help you, what do you think is your relationship with them? Do you think you have a commitment to them, or do you think it's a paid forward kind of thing?
Oh, 100% commitment to them. No, it's not even debatable. No way. I mean, they're entrusting me with their time, their resources. Like, they don't have to do any of this. This is completely voluntary, And I always think about that when, the biggest key when you're doing something like building a community, like trying to build community and trying to do something like this, is to have this mind, like to have such a huge appreciation. No one owes you anything at all. The default is nothing. So if you want to do something, that's an incredible investment of energy and time and focus. Someone's attention is quite, anyone in marketing knows this. That's like the biggest deal, is getting someone's attention and focus. But just in life in general too. So distracted with the social media and like just life, that to have someone's attention to focus on something, it's a huge gift in and of itself. And then come to help collaborate and like make things and volunteer, or to help like take photography of the event, or help do like setting up the structures and getting everything lined up for it. It's a huge deal. Gigantic. It's a gigantic gift and appreciation of that. I have an obligation to I honor that what they're committing to will be maintained and kept going forward. A spirit of appreciation, understanding, collaboration, looking to get the best work out of people. I think I'm, as people sign in to commit to more and more of it, I'm held to a higher obligation to honor that.
Is this also, do you also feel an obligation, not just to people who help you put together and help you with your mission, but people who attend the events, who participate, who buy your typefaces? What do you think is your relationship or your commitment to them?
Yeah, same thing. It's the same degree. It's a matter of degree, but it's the same idea. Again, people could do a lot of other things in New York on a Thursday night, or San Francisco on a Thursday night. So them taking their time to come in to come to the event. And by the way, the idea of Type Thursday too is that they're participating. You don't have this like pedestal mass, like expertise, content expert kind of giving their knowledge to people presenting their work in a type crit. It's a structured conversation to understand what the project is, what it's trying to do. It treats the critique as a form of storytelling. Like this document, a type proof is a kind of story. It tells you what the mindset is, what was the thought process, and then as an in progress document, all the messy things, like things that aren't consistent, you're struggling with certain things that aren't really working so well. That's a story, that gets fleshed out in a conversation, and then it's presented to the audience to contribute, to have a conversation about how we can most effectively help people move forward on their project. So they're not just coming in as a passive consumer of content, but they're contributing. That's a huge gift. So not only are you coming in like on a Thursday night, as opposed to doing something where you're just gaining passive entertainment, you're actually contributing to other people. That's explicitly put into the whole structure of the events. That's a really subtle point, but it's a huge deal. So that kind of sets the tone of the whole obligation of the event itself for everybody who comes to even participate, like even comes to the event. Not as an attendee, they're also participants too, in a way. That was done very intentionally in the nature how the event was structured. And the people who buy my typefaces, I've actually, I make it a habit to write thank you notes to everybody who buys my typefaces. I'll like hit them up, hit the emails, like thank you for sending it. I want to send you a little note to thank you, And I have at my talk in TypeCon, I talk about this. Like, I think a model for type designers, like as a base model for your customers on that, dude, they're buying your fonts. That's so cool. Dude, on the internet, which are probably around the world, because that's super cool. I've got customers all over the world. They take the time to write them a note. No one does that. And that small little detail makes a huge difference. And that you're not just some random vendor on the internet. You're an actual person who's making stuff for them that they're using. I think this is a better way to just do commerce and a better way to relate to life, personally.
The tone of everything you're saying is very much gratitude to others and thanking others for what they're doing. And do you ever think about, not in a self-centered way, but do you ever think about how you influence other people? As you spoke at TypeCon. You talk about building communities. You've written about it. Do you ever think about that influence positive influence you can have on others?
I hope so. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, I feel like it's very similar to my attitude by type design. I think one of my goals in my career, my life in type design is to pass it forward. That it's the same idea. It's the idea that you've been trusted with a body of knowledge, a certain way of doing things that you don't really honor it fully until you not only master it, you surpass it, and then you pass it on for another generation to surpass you. It's the cycle of this discipline and way of thinking. I think that's a really important mindset to have. In that context, is it to have influence? Yes, but I think a big part is you're a steward of a knowledge. You're a steward. You have a stewardship of this thing. It's not yours. It's something that you have a stewardship of. You're borrowing for the time being, and that you're going to pass on eventually. I think that's a base format, like base thinking behind it. That's how I see it, because it's not really yours. I'll give an analogy in boxing. I think in boxing, actually, I can definitely tell you from that. Other boxers I've talked with those other boxers, and they've all agreed to this point. So there's a moment. So boxing, there's a term we call the kinesthetic chain. So meaning when you're punching, there's a difference between like an arm punch and a punch that really has like everything in it. And one would think your default, if you didn't know boxing, your default answer is just put more force, just will it, just you put more will into it. That makes a harder punch. But any good boxer, it's not true. Actually, that makes a very thuddy punch. It's just like, it's very thuddy. Versus with the right timing of the right motions from your big toe to your ankle, to your calf, to your knee, to your thigh, to your lower back, to your shoulder, your lat, to the arm, to the knuckle. There's a certain ordering, timing, and rhythm for all those parts that you could time it just right in a specific ratio, in a specific timing. It feels like the punch just comes through you. It's not like your punch. It wasn't you who did it. It was like this thing went through you. That's called the kinetic chain. And like the force that's produced is such a magnitude higher than anything you could have done by your will, by that kind of forcing it. Other boxers have shared that. I've talked to other boxers about that. We've all agreed. We all noticed that point. And it's like this shot, like this little reminder that great ability and skill of a craft does not come from you owning it. You only borrow it. It's by the only thing you own is your commitment to it. That's the only thing you own. That you're going to show up to the gym and you're going to train every day. That you're going to commit to your drawing for your type and like commit to that process. That you're going to commit to the building community or developing other people. It's that's the thing you own, is that commitment to that process. The knowledge behind it is kind of the result. It's not yours. At its best, it's given to you. It's a result. I mean, that's how you got a knockout punch. I mean, again, from the boxing analogy, like that's how you get the knock. You don't get the knockout by trying to get the knockout. You get the knockout by following the process and then just committing to it. And then this thing happens where all of a sudden it comes out of you, and it felt effortless. It's flawless, and it just like instead of a thuddy punch, it's like this like a crack of lightning. It just like cracks, and it cracks the air. And everybody just knows, just instantly by the sound of it. It's like a totally different nature kind of punch. The punch is entirely different by its nature because of that. I hope that makes sense. I apologize if that's a little too like metaphysical, like weird and particular to a different discipline of thinking.
What's your ultimate goal? What's your ultimate dream?
To be the best person I can be. To honor what everything has been given to me. And to be surpassed. I think honestly, you only do the greatest measure of what you've done well in life is when you've been surpassed by the people you've been trusted with everything you're doing. That you can die in peace. I mean, that's the thing, right? It's like, listen, I mean, we're all going to die eventually. It's inevitability in life. And, to die like with the peace knowing you've done everything you could in life, and it's been entrusted to other people who've surpassed you. That's a great thing, and you've made a real impact in the world. It's that better than it was when you came in. I think you couldn't ask for a better end of a life.
Now we have the rapid fire section, and I have a few questions about different things that make you happy, and I just want your gut reaction. Ready?
Ready.
Who makes you happy?
My girlfriend, Alexis.
What is the happiest word you can think of?
Conviction.
Finish the sentence. I'm happiest when?
I'm having my cup of coffee, alone, watching the sunrise.
Where is your happy place?
My porch looking out the window as I'm having my coffee. That's a happy spot.
And this is one of my favorite questions to ask. What is the first happy moment you can remember?
Shit. Have we met? Okay. I remember what it is. When I was younger, my grandmother lived in my parents' house when I was growing up as a child. I think I was like 5 or 4. I remember it was a Saturday morning. I got up early, most of them like 5 a.m., something like that. I remember just running downstairs, hopping to bed with my grandma and saying, "Good morning, Grandma." And she's like hugging me and really happy to see me. I was wearing one of those onesies, like, those like those cotton onesies, onesies with like the plastic feet bottoms.
So you can actually visualize this moment.
Yeah, and the smell. I actually remember the smell, especially of that room downstairs.
It's so interesting how we can remember at 4 or however old you were, you can still remember those things.
Yeah.
I love this question because I get the most interesting answers, and they're the most different. Thank you for sharing what makes you happy and sharing about your journey. I want to hear a little more about Type Thursday because I know the audience will want to know more about it. Can you tell us a little about that?
Absolutely. It's a meeting place for people who love letter forms. So it's a online resource. It's an online community online. We have a Facebook group, social media, all that. We do weekly interviews with people who use type or design type. We also do monthly meetups in New York, right now in New York City and in San Francisco. All those resources are all available online. You want to check them out. And we'd love to have you attend if you're interested in making type, using type, or learning more about it.
And you're going to have your first out of New York. By the time we publish this, it would have happened about a month and a half ago. But as we were speaking, next week, you're going to have your first San Francisco. And there are awesome things we can't talk about yet. But hopefully by the time this publishes, we can share those stories. And great stuff happening. Where can we find you? Where can we find Type Thursday? Where can we learn more about you?
So in general, best way to do it is we're on Facebook at Type Thursday. You just type it in, you'll get it. Also on Instagram and Twitter. Just type in Type Thursday, specifically Type Thursday NYC or Type Thursday San Francisco. Type Thursday NYC or Type Thursday SF, and you'll find us that way.
Great. And I'll make sure to put all those links in the show notes and share them through social media. And hopefully all the type nerds out there will be happy to learn about this stuff.
We'll unite.
We'll unite. Indeed.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
A pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Thomas, for sharing what makes you happy. It was great chatting with you and catching up. Thanks, everyone, for listening. And don't forget that we're doing a special episode for New Year's. Please send a voice note to hello@thehappypodcast.com with your name, where you're from, and what will make you happy in 2017. Special thanks to Jason Zapolo for editing this episode, Orlo Margulis for help with social media, and Rocio Castañeda for ongoing support. You can get more information and notes for this episode at thehappypodcast.com/episode 401. And you can learn more about this project and get in touch with us through thehappypodcast.com. We're on social media. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at The Happy Podcast. And you can get the latest episode on YouTube, youtube.com/thehappypodcast. If you like this episode, go to iTunes and subscribe so you can get weekly updates in your device. And if you want other people to find out about this project, please leave a 5-star review on iTunes. That's the best way to spread the word. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week.